Hey there, and welcome back to the NK Podcast. I hope you're ready for another feel-good story today. I've got something really special that's all about the power of second chances and how a little bit of hope can turn a life around. Grab a seat, get cozy, and let's dive into this incredible journey. This story is about a man named Carlos, a guy who just a few years ago thought his life was all but over, and that all he had was a couple of billboards. It starts like many stories with a series of missteps, bad decisions, and hitting rock bottom. But what makes Carlos's story unique is the one thing he discovered when he was at his lowest point: the power of forgiveness, not from others, but from himself. Carlos had grown up in a neighborhood where things weren't always easy. His family didn't have much, and life was a constant struggle. As he got older, he fell into the wrong crowd, thinking it was his way to escape. Drugs, petty crime, and bad choices led to several run-ins with the law. By the time he was 28, he found himself sitting in a courtroom facing the possibility of spending years in prison for a crime he knew he could have avoided. But here's the twist. Carlos got lucky. His sentence was reduced, and he was given a chance to turn things around. A second chance that many people in his situation would never have gotten. Carlos was released on probation, but even with this new lease on life, he couldn't shake the feeling that he didn't deserve it. He was filled with guilt, anger, and a sense of worthlessness. How could he possibly build a better life after everything he'd done? He had lost his job, his friends, and most of his family was too hurt to speak to him. All he had left was the small apartment his probation officer insisted he stay in, and even that felt like a reminder of how far he'd fallen. But one day, after a particularly low point, something shifted. Carlos was sitting on the edge of his bed, staring at the four walls that had become his world. He realized that if he was going to make it, he had to start forgiving himself. The anger, the shame, and the regret were only holding him back. So, he made a decision. He was going to change. No one else could do it for him, but he had the power to take control of his future. Carlos started small. He began by walking around his neighborhood just to get out of his apartment. He would stop by a local coffee shop where the owner, an older woman named Ruth, always greeted him with a smile. She had seen him around and knew his story, but she never judged him. One day, she struck up a conversation. "How's it going, Carlos? You doing okay?" she asked gently. That simple question, asked with no judgment, was a turning point. Carlos, for the first time in months, felt seen, not as a criminal, but as a person. He opened up to Ruth about his struggles, and she didn't offer pity. Instead, she offered encouragement. "I believe in second chances, Carlos," Ruth told him. "Everyone deserves a fresh start. You've got to believe in yourself." And those words stuck with him. Carlos started volunteering at the local community center, helping with after-school programs for kids. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave him a sense of purpose. He started making small positive changes, even reaching out to family members to apologize for the pain he had caused. Slowly but surely, Carlos rebuilt his relationships, one honest conversation at a time. As months passed, he got a part-time job at a local warehouse. It wasn't much, but it was a start. His probation officer was impressed with his progress, and he started taking on more responsibility at work. Little by little, Carlos felt a glimmer of hope returning, and then the most unexpected thing happened. Ruth, the coffee shop owner who had been a constant source of support, offered him an opportunity. She had been looking for someone to manage her cafe, and she thought Carlos was the right person for the job. Carlos was stunned. He hadn't even considered working in a cafe, let alone managing one. But Ruth's faith in him pushed him to take the leap. Fast forward a few years, and Carlos is now the proud owner of Ruth's Cafe. She passed it on to him when she retired, and he's turned it into a thriving business. It's a place where people from all walks of life come together, and it's become a symbol of second chances. Carlos doesn't just serve coffee, he serves hope. But here's the thing, Carlos never forgets where he came from. He uses his story to inspire others who might feel like they've ruined their lives, to show them that there is always a way out. He mentors young people who are struggling with the same challenges he once faced, and he's become a pillar of his community. Carlos's story reminds us that no matter how far we've fallen, there's always the potential to rise again. The key is to start with forgiveness, to give ourselves the grace to move forward, and to trust that sometimes the people we least expect will believe in us when we can't even believe in ourselves. So, if you're going through a tough time right now, or if you've ever felt like you've made too many mistakes to turn things around, take a page from Carlo's story. Change is possible, and sometimes all it takes is one small step, one decision to move forward. All right, that's it for today's story. I hope it gave you a little extra motivation to keep pushing, no matter what you're facing. Until next time, remember, second chances are real, and they can come when you least expect them. Take care of yourselves and keep believing in the power of change. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the novel and how it resonated with you. Let's continue the conversation. Stay tuned for more episodes where we explore the world of literature and the lessons it teaches us. Until next time, keep unfolding the stories that matter.